Let's now proceed and see the topic of this other type of verb, the separable and inseparable verbs. Now, remember, I told you that verbs are the backbone of any language because once you have mastered verbs, I guarantee you, forming sentences becomes easy for you. Okay, that's why I always encourage you try to learn as many verbs as possible. No, especially these day-to-day verbs to cook, to eat, to watch. Try to know as many as possible because for any language, verbs are always the backbone. Okay. So I want us to proceed and see the separable and inseparable verbs. Let's go ahead. Now, we will begin with the first one, the separable verbs, which we now call trennbare Verben. Okay. Trennbare Verben. Now, these are verbs with separable prefixes, meaning that when you conjugate them, there are some prefixes you will remove and put at the end of a sentence. So, when conjugating, a separation is made between the verb and the prefix, which always comes at the end of the sentence. Okay? When you're conjugating it, always remember a separation is made between the verb and the prefix, which always comes at the end of the sentence. So examples of such verbs include, now here's the first type. The verb is aufstehen. So aufstehen is to get up. Now look at this verb. If I'm to conjugate it, the first thing you will do, you will remove that auf and put at the end so that you remain with stehen, right? I know that some of these verbs you had seen somewhere behind, yeah? Verb like stehen. So behind there you say that stehen means to stand. But when we add a prefix to it, it changes the pronunciation. So if I remove the auf, I now remain with stehen. So how do you conjugate it? You now say, ich stehe auf. Ich stehe auf. Du stehst auf. So if I say, ich stehe auf, it means I am getting up. Du stehst auf. You are getting up. Sie steht auf. Then I have sie stehen auf. You are getting up. Wir stehen auf. We are getting up. Ihr steht auf. And then sie stehen auf. They're getting up. Sie stehen auf. So you're seeing throughout is auf, coming at the end. But the conjugation is still maintained as usual. Ich stehe auf. Du stehst auf. Es steht auf. Etc. So for these verbs, they have the same pattern of conjugation. The only difference is that the prefix is the one that is now placed at the end of the sentence. Okay. So look at an example in a sentence. Ich stehe um 10 Uhr auf. Ich stehe um 10 Uhr auf, which now means I get up at 10 o'clock. I get up at 10 o'clock. Okay, the second verb is aufräumen. Remember the pronunciation of e umlaut u. So I say räumen. Don't say raumen, no. Aufräumen. Aufräumen. Oi, räumen. Räumen. Aufräumen. To clean up. So how do you conjugate this one? You simply say, ich räume auf. Ich räume auf. And then du räumst auf. Ich räume auf. Du räumst auf. Then you have sie räumt auf. Sie räumen auf. Wir räumen auf. Ihr räumt auf. And then sie räumen auf. Sie räumen auf. To clean up. Okay, here's another example also for separable verb. Einkaufen. The meaning of einkaufen is to shop. So again, I remove the prefix put at the end. That is ein, yeah? And then you conjugate kaufen. Ich kaufe ein. Ich kaufe ein. Du kaufst ein. Sie kauft ein. Sie kaufen ein. Then you have wir kaufen ein. Ihr kauft ein. And then sie kaufen ein. Sie kaufen ein. So some other examples, we've given us so many examples like Fernsehen, Fernsehen, to watch TV. Now, this one here, the prefix is fan. I know in some previous bit you had seen sehen alone, to see. Sehen alone is to see or watch. But Fernsehen is now to watch TV. So again, you will conjugate the same way. Ich sehe fan. I am watching TV, right? The next one is spazieren gehen. Spazieren gehen, to go for a walk. So here, the prefix is spazieren. Spazieren. So if I'm to conjugate, you'll say, ich gehe spazieren. Du gehst spazieren. So the prefix is spazieren. Okay, some other examples is aussteigen. Aussteigen. The prefix is aus, yeah? To alight from a vehicle. And then I have weiterfahren. Now, mostly when pronouncing these separable verbs, the prefix is normally emphasized. And you notice the prefix can either be a preposition or a noun or other verb, right? So like in this example, to travel or drive on, the prefix is weiter. Weiter, and then the verb fahren. Weiterfahren. Maybe you want to say, we are driving on. Wir fahren weiter. Okay. The other one is einsteigen. Einsteigen, to board a vehicle. The prefix is ein. Einsteigen. And then I have umsteigen. Umsteigen, to change or connect vehicles. Umsteigen. Okay. So they tell you that prefixes change the meaning of a verb. Prefixes change the meaning of a verb. Like in the example that I have here is kommen. So kommen means to come. Kommen alone, yeah? To come. But if you add a prefix like be, now we have bekommen. Now bekommen now means to receive or get. You can see the way it has changed it from its original meaning. Kommen, to come. Bekommen, to receive or get. And then you have ankommen. Now, ankommen is to arrive. All right? And then I have sagen, to say. Sagen, to say. And then zu sagen. Now, zu sagen is to promise. And then absagen, to cancel. So you're seeing that these various prepositions change their meanings. And I know you might be asking, hey, how will I master all their meanings? Don't worry. By you continuously going through them and seeing them again and again. That is how you get to master them, yeah? There are some of them which are very irregular, and you will have to learn them the way they are, yeah? So the only way that you can master them is you copying them down, going through them again and again, and using them intentionally in your sentences, okay? So let me now give you the separable prefixes so that whenever you see them, you know which ones are separable and which ones are not. So some of the commonly used separable prefixes are, so these ones, whenever you will see them, remember to separate. These ones are separable, yeah? We have ab, an, so ab, an, auf, aus, mit, there is ein, vor, you have weg, spazieren, then there is zu, zurück, there is wieder, wieder, then we also have heraus, heim, and nach. So these ones, whenever you will see them, you have to separate, okay? How about the ones that are not separable? Now, the following that I'm about to mention to you, they are not separable. These ones don't separate. We have be, emp, er. Remember, these ones don't separate. Be, emp, er. Ge, fa, za. Then you have vida. Now, don't confuse this vida with the other one. The other one that was above was W-I-E, vida. But this one is W-I-D-E-R. They're different, okay? Miss and fa-ab. So these ones don't separate, okay? All right. I would recommend you find the book. This audio goes hand in hand with the book that I mentioned to you at the beginning, yeah? The book that we printed out. It's going to be extremely efficient for you to have this and also be following along with the book to keep track, okay? So let's see some more examples. Let's now see some more examples of separable and inseparable verbs. We have bezahlen, to pay. Now you've seen this one is not separable. You've seen the prefix be, don't separate, yeah? So if I'm to conjugate this in a sentence, I would say ish bezahle, because the be is not separable. Don't say ish sale be, no. It is ish bezahle, du bezahlst, as bezahlt, as you proceed in that order, okay? So some other verbs, we have entwickeln, to develop. Now, this one again, you've seen from the list of inseparable, yeah? And this one you don't separate. If I'm to conjugate, you just say ich entwickele. Du entwickelst. You don't conjugate. I mean, you don't separate the end. Okay? So I would recommend, again, just rewind back this video to that list again. So you've seen the list of the separable and the list of the inseparable. So it's important you master those ones that you separate and those ones that you don't separate. Okay? So let me give you some more examples then of these verbs, separable and inseparable, both of them. I have abfahren. Abfahren, to depart. Verbieten. Verbieten, to prohibit. Ankommen. Ankommen, separable. Aufmachen. Aufmachen. Then there's ausfüllen. Ausfüllen. Remember, aufmachen is to open, like a door, yeah? Ausfüllen. Einschenken. Einschenken, to pour. Mitkommen. Mitkommen, to come along. Then I have vorstellen. Vorstellen. And you are realizing that from the way I'm pronouncing them, I am emphasizing the prefixes, yeah? Vorstellen. Vorstellen. Then there's weggehen. Weggehen, to go away. Zu sagen, to promise or accept. Zu sagen. Then I have zurückgeben. Zurückgeben. Herausfinden. Herausfinden. Abdrehen. Abdrehen, to turn off. And then I have andrehen. So abdrehen, to turn off, and then andrehen, to turn on. Zu machen. Zu machen. Anfangen. Anfangen. And then there's aufhören. Aufhören, to stop. Anziehen. Now, anziehen is to dress up. Ausziehen is now to undress. Ausziehen. Then umziehen. Umziehen is to shift or to relocate, to move out. That is umziehen. Herausnehmen. Aufschreiben. Aufschreiben. Now, in the above one, herausnehmen, the prefix is heraus. So if I'm to conjugate, to say, ich nehme, for example, heraus. I'm taking the books out. Ich nehme die Bücher heraus. Okay? So we are in this other one. Ausruhen. Ausruhen, which now means to rest. Then there's nachsehen. Nachsehen, to check up a word, e.g. in a dictionary. Nachsehen. And then there's zuhören. Now, zuhören is to listen to. Erhalten. Now, erhalten is to receive or get. And then you have erholen. Now, erholen is to recover, for example, from illness. Okay? So those are the list of the separable and inseparable verbs. For you to be good in this part, you need to master that table I've given you, yeah? The list of the separable prefixes, and then, of course, those ones that are not separable, okay? So even if we were to give some examples in a sentence, some examples in sentences, like ich dash die Bücher dash. Ich dash die Bücher dash. And then in bracket has been given the verb herausnehmen. You have to say, I'm taking the books out. So if I'm to use this, I would just say, ich nehme. Ich nehme die Bücher heraus. Ich nehme die Bücher heraus. And then look at the example. Wir dash jetzt Bücher dash. Wir dash jetzt Bücher dash. In bracket you have zu machen. So remember zu machen is to close, right? And then separable verb. So I remove the zu, put at the end. And then you conjugate the verb machen. So you say, wir machen jetzt Bücher zu. Wir machen jetzt Bücher zu. We are now closing our books. 2 more examples. Maria dash den Satz dash. Maria dash den Satz dash. In bracket you have the verb aufschreiben. So how do you conjugate that? You can pause and try it. Just pause and then attempt it. All right, so what happens is this. We remove the auf, put at the end, and then you conjugate the verb schreiben. Maria is under as, right? So you now say, Maria schreibt. Maria schreibt den Satz auf. Maria schreibt den Satz auf. Maria is copying down the sentences. The sentence. Maria is copying down the sentence. So I also wanted to attempt this one here. Number 7. Neue Wörter dash ich dash. Neue Wörter dash ich dash. In bracket you have the verb nachsehen. Okay, just also pause here and attempt it. Right. So let's now see how you've attempted it. Neue Wörter dash ich dash. The verb is nachsehen. So I do the same thing. I remove nach. I put at the end. I remain with sehen. So this then I'm going to conjugate depending on the subject. So if I check on the subject here, it's neue Wörter means new ones. And then dash ish, this ish. So it should be sehe ich. Neue Wörter sehe ich nach. Neue Wörter sehe ich nach. Right? I am checking up new words. If I'm to arrange it in the normal sentence, it's normally ich sehe neue Wörter nach. You will also say neue Wörter sehe ich nach. Okay? Last example. Let's take the last example here. Die Pause. Die Pause. Pause means break. Die Pause dash gleich dash. Die Pause dash gleich dash. In bracket you have aufhören. Now aufhören means to stop or to end. Stop or end. So that is to say the break is just ending. So die Pause, remember remove the auf, put at the end, and then you conjugate hören. So if I'm to conjugate hören, it becomes die Pause hot. Pause is under as, right? It. So die Pause hot gleich auf, which now means the break is just ending. The break is just ending. So that is how we get to use the separable and inseparable verbs. That is how we get to use separable and inseparable verbs, right? Unless there's any other question, that brings you to the end of that first bit. Now, if you look at the following bit, let's now just look at the other category. A separable verb can also consist of a noun plus verb phrase. A noun plus verb phrase. Like in the example, I have Abendbrot essen. The noun is Abendbrot, and then the verb is essen, to eat or to take supper. So how do you conjugate? Ich esse Abendbrot. Du isst Abendbrot. Es isst Abendbrot. So as you continue like that, Sie essen Abendbrot, wir essen Abendbrot, in that order. Another example is Pause machen. Now, Pause machen is to take a break. Pause machen. Ich mache Pause. You remember always that your nouns must be in capital, yeah? Ich mache Pause. Du machst Pause. You are taking a break. Es macht Pause. He, she, it is taking a break. Sie machen Pause. Wir machen Pause, as you proceed in that order. The next one is zu Mittag essen. To take lunch. Zu Mittag essen. Ich esse zu Mittag. Du isst zu Mittag. Es isst zu Mittag. Sie essen zu Mittag. So throughout is just zu Mittag, zu Mittag, wir essen zu Mittag, sie essen zu Mittag, in that order. You might ask, how about evening? Evening also is zum Abendessen, zum Abendessen, etc. Okay. All right, some more examples here. We have Wäsche waschen, capital W, Wäsche, and then small w, waschen, to wash clothes. Tongue twister, yeah? Wäsche waschen. So how do you conjugate? Ich wasche Wäsche. Ah, some nice tongue twister. Sh and s. Ich wasche Wäsche. Du wäschst Wäsche. Es wäscht Wäsche. Sie waschen Wäsche. Wir waschen Wäsche. As you proceed in that order. Last example is einen Brief schreiben. Einen Brief schreiben. To write a letter. Ich schreibe einen Brief. Du schreibst einen Brief. etc. Okay? All right, then. And then lastly, they can also consist of a verb plus verb phrase. It's also possible to find a verb plus verb, two verbs. Like in the example, to go to work in English, to go to work. That is arbeiten gehen. Arbeiten gehen. So I say, ich gehe arbeiten. Du gehst arbeiten. So throughout the arbeiten remains arbeiten, arbeiten, arbeiten. So you only conjugate the gehe. Ich gehe arbeiten. Du gehst arbeiten. Es geht arbeiten. Sie gehen arbeiten, as you proceed in that order. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to give us is schlafen gehen, to go to sleep. Ich gehe schlafen. Du gehst schlafen. Es geht schlafen, as you continue in that order. So, this is how we use the various separable and inseparable verbs. I would highly recommend you play back the video in case there's a part you missed or you didn't get clearly, okay? Well then, this brings you to the end of the topic of separable and inseparable verbs. I shall be seeing you in the next one.